Kicks don't just come out of the blue. Kicks give warnings and indications. Kick indicators include a gain in pit volume, an increase in the mud flow rate as it returns to the surface. The well flows when the pump's off, and the hole not taking the right amount of mud during trips. Some kick warning signs are changes in the mud's weight and viscosity, and changes in the shape and volume of cuttings. During normal drilling operations, mud returns from the hole and falls into the mud pits or tanks before going back down the hole. As long as everything stays normal and nobody adds or removes any extra amounts of mud from the system, the level of mud in the tanks remains pretty much the same. The level does not increase or decrease. But what if a kick enters the hole? Formation fluids force the mud up the annulus, and the kick fluids add their volume to the mud already in the hole. So the level of mud in the tanks increases. This increase in tank or pit volume is a good kick indicator, which is why the driller usually has a pit volume indicator. This instrument warns of a pit volume increase, which could indicate that a kick is occurring. When formation fluids enter the hole, they also increase the flow rate of the mud returning to the surface. You can spot an increase in the mud's return flow rate at the shale shaker, where the mud returns from the hole. And the driller has an instrument that warns him when the return flow rate increases. If the alarm sounds and the driller has not changed the pump rate, then kick fluids have entered the wellbore. Another indication of a kick is the well flowing with the pumps off. If the pump is not moving mud from the hole, then intruded kick fluids are doing it. The pressure of the kick forces mud from the hole even with the pumps off. When tripping pipe out of or into the hole, the crew has to be alert for kicks too. You remember this shot. Pull steel out of a cylinder and the mud level drops. Put steel in and the mud level goes up. Drill pipe and drill collars take up a given amount of volume depending on their size. But if the hole doesn't take the right amount of fill-up mud, then kick fluids may have entered the hole. For instance, let's say you pull 5 stands of pipe from the hole. And let's say that these 5 stands displace 3.7 barrels. So the hole should take 3.7 barrels of mud to keep it full. But what if the hole only takes 2.6 barrels? In this case, 1.1 barrels of formation fluids have entered the hole. 3.7 minus 2.6 equals 1.1 barrels. If formation fluids are allowed to continue to enter the hole, a kick could occur. Another kick sign is a change in the mud's weight. Usually kick fluids dilute the mud and reduce its weight. Kick fluids can also change the mud's viscosity, its thickness, or how fast it flows through a marsh funnel. So a person is usually posted at the mud tanks to keep tabs on the mud's weight and viscosity. He reports any changes to the driller. Another sign of a kick is a change in the size and volume of cuttings returning from the hole. Intruded formation fluids can make the bit drill faster and better, so the amount and volume of the cuttings can increase. But they can decrease too, so the key is to look for changes. Another sign of a kick is the well flows with the pumps off. When drilling ahead, the driller can pick up the drill string off the bottom, shut down the pumps, and see if the well flows with the pumps off. If it does, the well is kicking. By the way, this procedure is also called a flow check. To check for flow when tripping, the driller stops the pipe, ensures that no mud is being added to the drill stem or removed from the hole, and looks for flow at the mud return line. Whether drilling or tripping, formation fluids flowing into the hole force the mud up and out of the hole, even with the mud pump shut off. When the driller suspects that the well has kicked, it's important to shut the well in quickly. If he doesn't shut in the well, you know what can happen. It can blow out, release poisonous gases, pollute, and create a fire. Bad news. So the crew's got to shut in the well fast. To do it, here are a few basic steps to keep in mind. Remember, these are only the basic steps. If the bit's on bottom in drilling, first thing the driller does is pick up the bit off bottom. Cuttings can settle around it and stick. Second, he shuts down the mud pumps. Third, he closes the blowout preventers, usually the annular preventer. Finally, he reads and records such items as the time the kick occurred and other important items that we'll talk about shortly. Now suppose you're making a trip and a kick is detected. First step is to stab the full opening drill stem safety valve. It should be in the full open position. This allows you to stab the valve against flow from the drill stem. Once stabbed, make the valve up tight and close it. Finally, make up the Kelly or the top drive. Once the well is closed in, crew members must verify that it really is. One thing to look at is the operating lights. They should all be lit to indicate that the equipment is in proper position for a closed-in well. On surface preventer stacks, you can check the tail rods on the preventer itself and other valves in the stack and lines. And pressure appears on the drill pipe or standpipe pressure gauge. You'll see where this pressure comes from in a moment. But if the well is properly shut in, this pressure will not decrease. It may gradually increase, but not decrease. If it decreases, the well may not be fully shut in. Shutting in the well quickly keeps the kick small, keeps surface pressure down, and cuts back on lost operations time. Small kicks are a whole lot easier to handle than big kicks. When the driller shuts in the well on a kick, he writes down the time of day, two items called shut-in drill pipe pressure, SIDPP, and shut-in casing pressure, SICP, and the estimated pit gain, like 15 barrels. Accurate record keeping helps the crew control the kick and keep track of progress. And what are shut-in drill pipe pressure and shut-in casing pressure? Let's find out. When a well is shut in on a kick, pressure appears on two important gauges on the rig floor. One is the drill pipe pressure gauge, and the other is the casing pressure gauge. Here, shut-in drill pipe pressure, SIDPP, is 300 psi. Shut-in casing pressure, SICP, is 500 psi. The kick causes these pressures to appear. Here's how. The bit is on the bottom and drilling, and a kick happens. Kick fluids enter the annulus, the space between the drill stem and the hole. When drilling ahead, kick fluids usually do not enter the drill stem. Mud jetting out of the bit during drilling keeps them out. Usually kick fluids are all or mostly all gas. So the drill stem is full of straight drilling mud, but the annulus has mud and gaseous kick fluids. Recognizing a kick, the driller shuts in the well. He picks up the bit off bottom, stops the mud pump. Then closes one of the big valves called a blowout preventer. The preventer is mounted on top of the well. When closed, the preventer stops more kick fluids from entering. Here's the situation downhole. The well is shut in. No more kick fluids are entering. Uncontaminated mud fills the drill stem. But the mud's hydrostatic pressure is less than formation pressure. In this case, the hydrostatic pressure of the mud is 5,000 psi. But formation pressure is 5,300 psi. That's why this well kicked. You can't see all the pipes and fitting, but this drill pipe pressure gauge is rigged up to read pressure from the bottom of the drill stem. It reads 300 psi. This 300 psi pressure on the gauge reflects the 300 psi difference between hydrostatic pressure and formation pressure. Formation pressure is 5,300 psi. Hydrostatic pressure is 5,000 psi. 5,300 minus 5,000 equals 300 psi. So the drill string is like a long stem connected to the drill pipe pressure gauge on the surface. Notice that shut-in casing pressure reads 500 psi. This is 200 psi higher than the shut-in drill pipe pressure of 300 psi. Why? Because the kick in the annulus contains both drilling mud and gas. The gas comes out of the formation and expands in the annulus. Because the gas expands, it adds an additional 200 psi to the 300 psi. So in this example, the casing pressure gauge reads 500 psi. The more gas that enters the annulus, the higher shut-in casing pressure will be. But shut-in drill pipe pressure is the key to controlling the kick. With it and the true vertical depth of the well, crew members can determine how much they have to increase the mud weight to regain control of the well. The equation is simple. SIDPP divided by TVD divided by 0.052. So if SIDPP is 300 psi and the well's TVD is 11,300 feet, then 300 divided by 11,300 equals 0.0265. 0.0265 divided by 0.052 equals 0.5. So the mud weight has to be increased by 0.5 ppg to control the well. If the well kicked with an 11.3 pound per gallon mud, then weighting it up 0.5 ppg gives a mud weight of 11.8 ppg needed to kill the kick. Okay, let's summarize. First, you saw several warnings and indicators of kicks. A gain in pit volume, an increase in the mud return rate, the well flows with the pumps off, the hole not taking the right amount of mud during trips, changes in the mud's weight and viscosity, and changes in the shape and volume of cuttings. You also saw that anytime the driller thinks that a kick has happened, he can do a flow check. When drilling, he picks up off the bottom, shuts down the pumps, and waits a few minutes to let the mud come to rest. Then he checks for flow at the return line. Flow from the hole with the pumps off means a kick. And you saw that it's very important to shut in the well quickly if a kick is detected. Shutting in the well quickly keeps the kick small, keeps surface pressure down, and cuts back on lost operations time. Small kicks are a whole lot easier to handle than large kicks. When the well is shut in on a kick, the driller should write down the time of day, shut-in drill pipe pressure, shut-in casing pressure, and the estimated pit gain. Accurate record keeping helps the crew control the kick and keep track of progress. And you learn that the drill stem is like a long stem on a pressure gauge at the surface. In this case, formation pressure is 5,300 psi, and hydrostatic pressure is 5,000 psi. Thus, the shut-in drill pipe reads 300 psi, the difference between formation pressure and hydrostatic pressure. Shut-in casing pressure is 500 psi. Casing pressure is higher than drill pipe pressure because the kick fluids in the annulus increase the pressure there. You also saw that you can determine how much mud weight increase is required to kill the kick. Mud weight increase equals SIDPP divided by TVD divided by 0.052. Next, we'll look